The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Global Space Communication Center. Dr. James Miller was drinking his third cup of coffee when the computer started beeping. At first, he thought it was just another space debris alert, but this signal was different. It pulsed with a pattern he had never seen before. "Tom, come look at this," he called to his assistant. The young technician hurried over, almost spilling his own coffee in excitement. On the screen, numbers flashed in perfect sequences, prime numbers, Fibonacci series, and mathematical constants that couldn't occur naturally. "This isn't random noise," Tom whispered, his eyes wide. "This is artificial." Dr. Miller nodded, his hands already flying over the keyboard. The signal was coming from the edge of the solar system, somewhere in the Kuiper Belt. As he analyzed the data, his coffee grew cold, forgotten on the desk. Hours passed as more experts gathered in the monitoring room. The message repeated itself every 12 minutes, each time becoming clearer as their computers learned to clean up the signal. By evening, the first patterns emerged. "It's a language," Dr. Miller announced to the room full of scientists, "but not like any we've seen before. They're using universal constants to communicate. The speed of light, Planck's constant, gravitational forces. It's brilliant." The team worked through the night, decoding more of the message. What they found made them sit in stunned silence. Out there, in the cold darkness of space, an alien fleet was asking for help. The next morning, the president of the United Nations Space Council called an emergency meeting. Dr. Miller stood before representatives from every major nation, his presentation simple but shocking. 300 ships carrying 1.2 million refugees are stranded in our solar system, he explained, pointing to the projection behind him. Their propulsion systems were damaged by an unexpected radiation surge from a nearby pulsar. They've been trapped there for weeks, slowly losing power. The room erupted in questions. Some delegates worried it was a trick. Others wanted immediate action. A few suggested ignoring the call completely. "But why ask us for help?" the Russian delegate demanded. "If they can cross between stars, their technology must be far beyond ours." Dr. Miller smiled. "That's the interesting part. From what we've decoded, their technology is incredibly advanced, but also incredibly specialized. They've lost the ability to make simple repairs. Everything in their society is automated, controlled by artificial intelligence. When those systems fail, they don't know how to fix them manually." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And they think we can help. We who have barely reached Mars." "Exactly," Dr. Miller replied. "They need our expertise in mechanical repairs, our ability to solve problems with basic tools. They need human ingenuity." The debate raged for hours. Security experts worried about revealing Earth's location to alien civilizations. Engineers argued about whether humans could actually help. Economists calculated the cost of a rescue mission. But in the end, the decision was clear. Humanity couldn't ignore a cry for help, even if it came from the stars. The vote was nearly unanimous. Earth would answer the call. That evening, Dr. Miller sent humanity's first official response to an alien civilization. The message was simple, encoded in the same mathematical language they had used. "We hear you. We're coming to help. Hold on." As he watched the signal beam out into space, Dr. Miller thought about how strange life was. Humans had always looked to the stars, dreaming of meeting advanced alien civilizations. Now those civilizations were looking back, not for our advanced technology or resources, but for something much more basic, our human ability to fix things with our hands and solve problems with our minds. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin, and it started not with a war or an invasion, but with a simple call for help from the stars. 2 days after Earth sent its response, the aliens replied. Their message arrived while Dr. Miller was explaining the situation to Commander Anna Roberts, the person chosen to lead Earth's rescue mission. "They call themselves the Stellari," Dr. Miller said, reading the new message on his screen. "And they're grateful, very grateful. Commander Roberts leaned closer to look at the translation. She was a tall woman with gray streaked hair and the kind of face that showed both kindness and strength. After 20 years in space missions, she thought nothing could surprise her anymore. She was wrong. Their main ship's power will fail in 3 months, she read aloud. That's not much time. The Stellary's message included detailed information about their ships and technology. As the engineering team studied the data, they began to understand why such an advanced civilization needed help. "Look at this," said Tom, pointing to a diagram. "Their entire civilization runs on quantum computers and AI systems. Even their repair tools are smart robots, but the radiation burst fried most of those systems, and they don't know how to fix things without computers." Commander Roberts asked. "They've forgotten how," Dr. Miller explained. "Imagine someone who's only ever used a smartphone trying to fix a mechanical watch. That's what the Stellari are facing now." Over the next week, Earth prepared its biggest space mission ever. 3 ships were chosen: the Hope, the Pioneer, and the Horizon. Each one carried the best engineers and mechanics humanity could offer. Commander Roberts walked through the Hope's cargo bay, checking the supplies one last time. They had packed everything from basic wrenches to advanced welding equipment. No one knew exactly what tools they would need. The Stellari said something interesting in their last message. Dr. Miller told her as they worked. "They said our technology seems beautifully simple. I think they meant it as a compliment." The crew for the mission was carefully selected. Besides Commander Roberts, there was Mike, the head engineer, who could fix anything with duct tape and wire. Lisa was the best problem solver in NASA's history. And 20 other crew members, each chosen for their practical skills and ability to think creatively. The night before launch, Commander Roberts couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, over 1 million aliens were waiting for help from a species they'd never met. The launch day arrived bright and clear. As the 3 ships prepared for takeoff, a final message came from the Stellari. When translated, it was surprisingly emotional. "Our children ask about you," the message said. "We tell them that even in this vast universe, there are still kind strangers who will help those in need. We thank you for proving us right." The launch was perfect. As the ships rose into space, people around the world watched on their screens. For the first time in history, all of humanity felt united in a single mission: not to fight, not to compete, but to help. In orbit, Commander Roberts gathered her crew for a brief meeting. "This mission isn't just about saving the Stellari," she told them. "It's about showing the galaxy what humans can do. We might not have quantum computers or AI ships, but we have something just as valuable. We know how to solve problems with our hands and our heads." As the ships fired up their engines for the long journey to the Kuiper Belt, another message arrived from the Stellari. This one was short but made everyone smile. Translated into English, it simply said, "Please hurry, but drive safely." The rescue mission was officially underway. Earth's first major step into the galactic community would be marked not by war or trade, but by a simple act of helping those in need. As Commander Roberts always said, sometimes the most human thing to do was also the most universal thing to do. Lending a helping hand to someone in trouble, even if that someone came from the stars. Space was darker than Commander Roberts remembered. The 3 Earth ships, Hope, Pioneer, and Horizon, pushed through the void, their fusion engines glowing like small stars against the blackness. They had been traveling for 3 weeks now. The crew spent their time studying the technical data the Stellari had sent. Each new file they opened left them more amazed. "Look at this engine design," Mike said during their daily briefing. He pointed to a hologram floating above the table in Hope's meeting room. "It's like nothing we've ever seen. They're using quantum fields to bend space itself." Lisa, who sat across the table cleaning her old toolkit, looked up. "But that's what I don't understand. If they're so advanced, why can't they fix their own ships?" Commander Roberts had been thinking about the same thing. She walked to the window, watching the other 2 ships flying alongside them. "It's like they've forgotten the basics," she said. "They depend so much on their AI and automatic systems that they never learn to do things by hand." The journey was long, but not boring. Every day brought new challenges. The crews practiced repair scenarios, trying to figure out how they would fix technology they barely understood. They used simple tools to solve complex problems, just like they would need to do when they reached the Stellari fleet. 1 month into the journey, they got their first glimpse of what they were dealing with. A video message arrived from the Stellari ships. The aliens had recorded their daily life to help the humans prepare for what they would see. The crew gathered to watch it in the Hope's main hall. On the screen, tall beings moved gracefully through their ships. Their skin seemed to glow with its own light, and their bodies were partly see-through, like living crystal. "They're beautiful," someone whispered. But what really caught the engineers' attention was the ships themselves. Everything was automated. Doors opened before anyone reached them. Food appeared from machines without anyone pressing buttons. Repairs were done by floating robotic orbs that moved like swarms of glowing insects. "Now I get it," Mike said after the video ended. They'd never had to press a button or turn a wrench in their lives. Everything's done for them by AI. The next few weeks were busy. The crew practiced more, now that they knew what they were dealing with. They worked out ways to explain simple mechanical concepts to beings who had never held a tool. Commander Roberts made everyone carry basic tools everywhere, getting used to doing things manually. The training was interrupted 6 weeks into the journey. A small meteoroid hit the Pioneer, damaging one of its cooling pipes. It wasn't serious, but it needed fixing. Commander Roberts watched through the Hope's window as 2 crew members did a spacewalk to repair it. They used simple tools, a wrench, some patch material, and good old-fashioned human know-how. The job took 30 minutes. "Send a video of this repair to the Stellari," she told communications. "They should see how we work." The Stellari's response came quickly. They were amazed. The idea of fixing something without computers or AI seemed like magic to them. They had more questions. How did humans learn to work with their hands? How did they know which tools to use? How did they figure out solutions without a computer's help? As they answered these questions, the crew began to understand something important. The Stellari weren't just asking for help with repairs. They were asking to learn something their civilization had lost: the ability to solve problems on their own. 2 months after leaving Earth, the ships entered the Kuiper Belt. Ahead of them, hidden in the darkness, 1,000,000 aliens waited for help. But now the humans knew they weren't just bringing tools and repairs. They were bringing back something the Stellari had lost long ago: the simple joy of fixing things with your own hands. Commander Roberts looked at her crew, busy checking their tools one last time. Soon, they would meet the Stellari face to face. Soon they would show that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. And maybe, just maybe, they would teach one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy that progress doesn't always mean forgetting the basics. They saw the Stellari fleet long before they reached it. 300 massive ships floating in the darkness, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships glowed with a soft blue light, like stars scattered across the Kuiper Belt. "Look at the size of them," Mike whispered as they approached. The smallest Stellari ship was the size of a small city. The largest was bigger than Manhattan. Commander Roberts stood on Hope's bridge, watching as they got closer. "Remember, everyone," she said to her crew, "we're about to make history. First direct contact with an alien species." The Stellari guide ship met them halfway. It was small by their standards, only about the size of a football field. As it approached, everyone could see why the aliens were called Stellari. Their ship's hull was partly transparent, showing the crystalline beings moving inside, their bodies glowing with gentle light. The docking was smooth. The human ships looked tiny next to the Stellari vessel, like rowboats next to a cruise ship. The crews gathered at the airlocks, hearts pounding with excitement and nervousness. When the doors opened, the first Stellari stepped through. The alien was tall, almost 3 meters high, with a body that seemed made of living crystal. Light pulsed through its form in beautiful patterns, and its movements were graceful, almost like dancing. "Welcome, humans," the Stellari spoke, its words translated by a floating orb beside it. "We are deeply grateful for your arrival." Commander Roberts stepped forward. "We're honored to help," she said. "I'm Commander Anna Roberts, and these are our best engineers and mechanics." The Stellari leader, who introduced itself as the first guide, took them on a tour of their ship. The human crew tried not to stare, but everything was amazing. Corridors adjusted their size automatically as they walked. Doors appeared and disappeared in the walls as needed. Everything was smooth, advanced, and completely automated. But then they saw the problem. "This is our main engine core," the first guide said, leading them to a vast chamber. The quantum drive that usually powered the ship was dark. The automatic repair systems, small floating robots that usually fixed any problem, lay dead on the floor. Mike walked around the engine, looking closely at everything. He pulled out an old wrench from his toolkit, and the Stellari watched with curiosity. "What is that object?" one of them asked. It's just a wrench. A tool for turning things by hand," Mike explained. The Stellari looked confused. "By hand? You mean without AI assistance?" "Yeah, sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Mike said. He pointed to a large panel near the engine. "See this? Your quantum field generator is fine, but the physical housing is cracked. The radiation damaged the automatic repair systems, but we can fix this manually." The Stellari gathered around, fascinated as Mike opened his toolkit. They had never seen simple tools before: wrenches, screwdrivers, measuring tapes. To them, these basic items were as strange as their quantum technology was to humans. "Can you teach us?" the first guide asked. "We have depended on automation for so long, we have forgotten how to work with our hands." Commander Roberts smiled. "That's why we're here. We'll fix your ships, but more importantly, we'll teach you how to fix things yourselves." The next few hours were interesting. Human crew members spread throughout the ship, examining systems and making repair plans. The Stellari followed them everywhere, amazed by their ability to understand machines just by looking at them and touching them. Lisa found herself explaining basic mechanical principles to a group of Stellari engineers. They were brilliant with quantum physics, but had never thought about simple leverage or how gears worked. "Your species is remarkable," the first guide told Commander Roberts as they watched the humans work. "We thought we had outgrown the need for physical tools. We were wrong. There is wisdom in keeping things simple." As the first day of work ended, both species had learned important lessons. The humans had seen that advanced technology wasn't always the answer, and the Stellari had discovered that progress shouldn't mean forgetting the basics. Tomorrow, the real work would begin, not just fixing ships, but bridging the gap between two very different ways of thinking about technology. The real work began on the second day. Commander Roberts split the human crews into teams, each paired with a group of eager Stellari learners. What followed was the strangest teaching session in human history. Mike stood in front of 20 glowing crystalline beings, holding up a wrench. "This is where we start," he said, the translation orb floating nearby. "Before we can fix quantum drives, you need to understand basic tools." The Stellari were fascinated. They had never held tools before. Everything in their society had been done by machines for thousands of years. When Mike handed out wrenches to each of them, they held them like precious artifacts. "Your hands are the first tools you have," Lisa explained to another group, showing them how to feel for loose connections in an engine panel. "Sometimes you can spot problems just by touch that even advanced sensors might miss." In the engine room of one of the largest ships, something amazing happened. A young Stellari engineer, after watching the humans work, suddenly understood a concept that had been lost to their civilization for generations: the joy of fixing something yourself. "I did it," the young engineer exclaimed. its body glowing brighter with excitement. It had just tightened a loose connection by hand, something that would normally have been done by repair robots. "I can feel how the parts work together now." Commander Roberts watched as more breakthroughs happened across the fleet. The Stellari were quick learners once they got past their initial hesitation about handling tools. Their natural ability to manipulate energy fields made them extraordinarily good at detailed repair work once they understood the basics. "Look at this," Mike called everyone over one day. He had opened up a damaged quantum drive housing. The Stellari repair robots couldn't fix this because they were programmed only for standard problems. But see how we can bypass the damaged section using simple mechanical principles. The solution was beautifully simple, a combination of basic physics and creative thinking. The humans showed how to create a mechanical bypass that would let the quantum drive work without its damaged components. It wasn't as elegant as the original design, but it would get the job done. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Commander Roberts told the first guide as they watched the repair's progress. Sometimes you need to step back and look at the problem with fresh eyes. The Stellari began to understand. They started coming up with their own ideas, combining their advanced knowledge of quantum mechanics with these new mechanical skills. The results were impressive. One Stellari engineer figured out how to use simple pulleys to move heavy quantum core components, something their robots had always done before. Another discovered that basic hand tools could adjust quantum field alignments more precisely than automated systems. By the end of the first week, the changes were remarkable. Ships that had been dead in space for months were coming back to life. The Stellari were learning fast. Their natural intelligence now applied to practical problems in ways they had never considered. "We have been blind," the first guide admitted to Commander Roberts. "We thought advancing meant leaving behind simpler technologies. We never realized that true advancement means keeping the best of both worlds." The human crews worked tirelessly, not just fixing ships but teaching, explaining, showing the Stellari how to think about problems in new ways. Each repair became a lesson, each broken system an opportunity to share knowledge. In the mess hall of the Hope, Commander Roberts looked at her tired but happy crew. They were covered in grease and sweat, their tools worn from constant use, but their eyes were bright with accomplishment. "We're not just fixing ships," she told them. "We're helping an advanced civilization rediscover something they lost: the power of human ingenuity, the ability to solve problems with both mind and hands." As she spoke, through the window behind her, another Stellari ship's lights came back on, its quantum drive humming to life. It was proof that sometimes the most advanced civilizations could learn valuable lessons from those they considered less developed. The universe, it seemed, still had much to teach everyone. The warning alarms started in the middle of the night shift. Red lights flashed across the Stellari flagship, accompanied by a deep, pulsing sound that seemed to vibrate through the hull itself. Main life support failing on the flagship. The emergency message blared through all communication channels. Backup systems not responding. Commander Roberts was awake and running toward the Hope's airlock before the message finished. Mike and Lisa were already there, pulling on their spacesuits and gathering tools. "How bad is it?" she asked the first guide, who met them at the flagship's docking port. The usually calm alien was glowing with darker colors, a sign of distress. "Very bad," the first guide replied. "The main life support hub is shutting down. Over 100,000 of our people are on this ship. We have less than 6 hours of air left." The situation was worse than they thought. The life support hub was a massive room filled with quantum technology that cleaned air, regulated temperature, and maintained proper gravity throughout the enormous ship. Now, most of its systems were dark. "The automated repair systems are making it worse," a Stellari engineer reported, its crystalline form flickering with worry. "They keep trying to reset the quantum fields, but each reset drains more power." Mike studied the system quickly, his experienced eyes taking in the problem. "The automated systems are following their programming," he said. "But sometimes you need to break the rules to fix something." Commander Roberts made a quick decision. "Shut down all automated repair systems," she ordered. "We do this manually." The Stellari looked nervous but complied. One by one, the repair robots were deactivated. The room fell silent except for the warning alarms. "Now what?" the first guide asked. "Now we get creative," Lisa said, already pulling tools from her kit. "Mike, remember that bypass we used on the engine core last week? We can do something similar here." For the next hour, humans and Stellari worked side by side. The humans showed how to create mechanical backups for the quantum systems. The Stellari used their natural ability to sense energy fields to guide the repairs. "Look here," Mike called out, pointing to a connection panel. "The quantum field is unstable because its housing is damaged. We can't fix it the normal way, but we can redirect the field through these mechanical regulators." It wasn't elegant. The solution involved using simple pressure valves and mechanical switches to control complex quantum fields. It was like using stone tools to repair a computer, but it worked. 4 hours of air left, the ship's computer announced. The work continued. Humans taught Stellari how to make emergency repairs using whatever materials they had. Stellari taught humans about the quantum fields they were trying to control. Both species learned from each other, finding new ways to combine their knowledge. 3 hours of air left. Commander Roberts watched as Mike led a team to rebuild the main air recycling unit. They were using parts from the Hope's spare supplies, modified to work with the alien technology. It wasn't pretty, but it didn't need to be pretty. It just needed to work. 2 hours of air left. Lisa discovered that the Stellari's natural energy field sensing abilities could be used to balance the mechanical systems they were installing. It was a perfect blend of advanced alien capabilities and basic human engineering. 1 hour of air left. The final connections were made. Everyone held their breath as Mike threw the main switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the quantum field stabilized. The mechanical regulators hummed to life. Fresh air began flowing through the ship again. The warning alarms stopped. In the sudden silence, humans and Stellari looked at each other with newfound respect. "You did it," the first guide said, its body glowing with bright colors of joy and relief. "But not just the repair. You showed us something more important." Commander Roberts nodded, understanding that sometimes the best solution is a combination of advanced technology and simple mechanics, of trusting both computers and human hands. As the crews began cleaning up their tools, news of the successful repair spread through the fleet. The Stellari were learning that progress didn't always mean replacing the old with the new. Sometimes it meant finding the perfect balance between them. 1 month after the life support crisis, Commander Roberts stood at the window of the Hope, watching as the last Stellari ship's quantum drive came back to life. Its blue glow joined the others, creating a spectacular light show against the dark backdrop of space. "All systems are now functioning at 90% or better," Mike reported, closing his worn toolkit. "And more importantly, the Stellari know how to maintain them." It was true. In the weeks following the crisis, the Stellari had transformed. Their engineers now carried tool belts alongside their quantum scanners. They had set up workshops on every ship where they practiced basic mechanical skills. Some had even started inventing new tools that combined their advanced technology with simple mechanical principles. "Commander," the first guide approached, its crystalline form glowing with warm colors. "The Council of Guides has reached a decision. We would like to share it with your crew." The announcement was made in the flagship's Great Hall. Humans and Stellari gathered together, no longer separated by their technological differences. The first guide stood before them, its voice translated by the floating orb that had become so familiar to everyone. "When we sent our distress call," it began, "we hoped for help with repairs. Instead, we received something far more valuable, a lesson in balance. For too long, we thought advancement meant leaving behind simpler technologies. We were wrong." The guide's glow brightened as it continued. "Therefore, we offer Earth 2 gifts. First, We will share our quantum technology with your people, but more importantly, we want to learn from you. We request that Earth establish a permanent engineering school where humans can teach our people the art of practical problem-solving." Commander Roberts looked at her crew. They had come to save a stranded fleet, but they had achieved something much bigger. They had bridged the gap between two very different approaches to technology. "There's more," the first guide said. "We have sent messages to the Galactic Council. We have recommended Earth for immediate membership, not despite your primitive technology, but because of your unique approach to solving problems." The hall erupted in excitement. Earth joining the Galactic Council meant humanity would take its place among the stars far sooner than anyone had expected. Lisa turned to a young Stellari engineer who had become her student. "Does this mean we'll get to see those advanced alien worlds you told us about?" The Stellari's glow pulsed with amusement. "Yes, but we hope you'll bring your toolkits. Many of our worlds could benefit from learning to do things the human way." Later that day, as the crews prepared for their journey home, Commander Roberts met with the first guide one last time. They stood in the flagship's observation deck, watching Earth's ships prepare for departure. "You know," the guide said, "some of our youngest engineers have started calling themselves hand fixers. They're proud of working with tools like humans do. They say it connects them to the machines in a way quantum scanning never could." Commander Roberts smiled. "And our engineers are already studying how to combine your quantum technology with our mechanical methods. I think both our species have learned that the best solutions often come from combining different ways of thinking." As the human ships undocked from the Stellari fleet, ready for their return journey, messages of thanks flooded their communication systems. The Stellari had arranged their ships in a formation that, from the humans' perspective, created a spectacular light show, a final display of their gratitude. "You came to our rescue," the first guide's final message said, "but you gave us more than repairs. You taught us that true wisdom lies not in abandoning the old ways for the new, but in finding the best of both. The stars will remember this lesson." Commander Roberts looked back at the glowing fleet one last time before they turned toward Earth. This mission had started with a simple call for help, but it had ended by changing both civilizations for the better. As humanity prepared to take its place among the stars, they knew they would bring with them their most valuable tools, not just wrenches and screwdrivers, but the human spirit of innovation and practical problem-solving that had proven so valuable to even the most advanced civilization in space.